All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to leave up holiday decorations year-round. Others have the need to use their garage as practice space for their new metal band. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
Hello to everybody who had to watch 300 sad videos when you were 16 years old. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, one phone call. No names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun. And I'll get to know you and you'll get to know me.
Hi everybody, Chris Gethard here. And if you're somebody who doesn't like the intros, I get it. I'm not going to lie. I did not remember to record the length of the intro this time, but I think it was probably like 5 minutes. I think if you skip maybe like 4 or 5, you'll be towards the beginning of the call. I'm not trying to be deceptive about that. Legit forgot to look at the clock. Anyway, enjoy the call, everybody. Hi, everybody. Chris Gethard here. Welcome to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous. This one is a fun one, everybody. It is a fun one. You're going to like it. I liked it. I think you will too. I have also liked being on the road and meeting people. I just did shows last week in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and in Morgantown, West Virginia. It was so nice to meet so many people who have listened to the show. I had a really beautiful experience too. I taught a Laughing Together workshop. Laughing Together is the nonprofit organization I founded a year ago with my friends at Wellness Together, where we send comedians into school environments to talk about comedy as a communication tool. And it's been going awesome. I'm going to give you a big update on it someday. But I'll tell you, I taught for 400 educators at the Community and Schools Conference in Morgantown, and someone came up to me afterwards, and she was like almost hyperventilating because she was like, I did not know you were going to be here, and I was getting coffee, and then I heard a voice start speaking, and I said, that is Chris from Beautiful Anonymous, and then I turned around, and you were here at my work event, and I had no idea you were coming, and I've been listening for 8 years. So to that lady, thanks so much for listening, and it was fun to talk with you, and I hope that workshop was good because I was blown away by everything I saw at that conference, and I was so delighted to get to talk to you individually. Nice lady who I met at that conference. If you want to meet me and have an awkward conversation of your own, I've got dates coming up this month in Kansas City, St. Louis, Cudahy, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois, Ferndale, Michigan, and Lakewood, Ohio. And then in October, I'll be in Somerville, Mass., Garwood, New Jersey, Baltimore, Maryland, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Hamden, Connecticut. Punchup.live/Chris Gethard for all those tickets. And then speaking of things you can sign up for, the Beautiful Anonymous Plus material is great. And thanks to everybody in the Facebook community. I've noticed in the Facebook community, people are starting to go, guys, if you haven't signed up, it's really good. And I have not wanted to sit here and try to brag about it or give too hard a sell, but it's nice to see that people find value in it and think that it's good. I think it's really good too. It's eye-opening and charming and funny and allows us to learn more about the callers, both the things they've talked about and a lot of things they haven't. So I'd be super thrilled if you were down to sign up by using your podcast listening app. There's probably a link right there for most of you. And if not, you can go to beautifulanonymous.com. We had a little uptick this week. As of this recording, we are at 870 subscribers. I have no hope that we're going to get to 2,000 by the time I get a big financial bonus. But if we can get to 2,000, I think in the next 6 months, my family will thank you because I get a big financial bonus for that. And sometimes I just want to put that out there in a blunt way. Like, yo, I make more money if we get 2,000 signups. Even if you sign up and then unsubscribe after like a month or two. I didn't say it. Who said that? I didn't say that. Somebody else said that. Anyway, this call, it's really fun. You're going to hear the caller lays out a to-do list of things we will talk about. Beginning of the call, and then we talk about all of them. I would say the top line items are, let's just say it. Here's the big one. How have we never had a horse girl call this show before? A few years ago, I became aware of how horse girl culture was a lot more intense than I knew. And I remember thinking to myself, I bet there's horse girls who listen to Beautiful Anonymous. I would not be shocked if there's a Venn diagram. In the same way, I was not shocked to find out that social workers like Beautiful Anonymous. In the same way, I have not been shocked to find out that furries like Beautiful Anonymous. And people with diaper fetishes, that there are segments of those communities that have come to us. Horse girls are clearly somewhere in the Venn diagram of where all these things cross over with Beautiful Anonymous. So we finally have our first hardcore horse girl who talks to us about that and so many other things. There's talk of mental health along the way. So, if that is something that you are struggling with, you might want to be ready for that. But it's honestly, a pretty light talk about some serious things in terms of it, just because I think the caller and I were very connected the whole time. Point being, I think you're going to love it. I know I loved it. Enjoy it. Sign up for the bonus content. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How's it going?
So pretty good, you said. What are you up to today, other than this?
I was traveling a bunch this week for Laughing Together. I taught a workshop in West Virginia. So I did some shows in Pittsburgh and West Virginia, bracketing that, and then spent close to 8 hours of driving to get home. And now I'm just kind of recovering.
Wow.
And I spent a lot of today helping with my son and helping to clean my patio because I was gone and I don't want my wife to be drowning in all of those things. That's what I did.
Big week. Yeah, fair enough.
You?
I mean, good for you for getting right back into the housework. I'm good. I'm on vacation this week. I'm doing a staycation all by myself and just trying to be selfish and take things slow. And I'm doing exactly that. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I have a list of things that we can talk about if you want. I have a very niche story that you might want to hear. I think you say niche is how you pronounce that.
I go back and forth. That's one of those words that I'm insecure. I know I'm not sure how it's pronounced, so I just arbitrarily use different pronunciations. Niche.
That's fair.
What is the correct one? Do you know?
I have no idea. We can go back and forth as well. So one of my stories is that let's use the word famous lightly, but I was YouTube famous in high school, and just how that affected me and what exactly that small community was like. That's part of what I'd like to talk to you about today.
Fascinating. Love that. I'm going to make a list. We're going to get to all of this.
Perfect.
Okay. What else would you like to add on the list of things we'll be talking about today? And I like giving everybody the menu ahead of time. The prefix. This is an episode that's it has a prefix menu.
Perfect. Love that. So I'm also a walking stereotype. I'm a vegan, lesbian horse girl. So there's a lot to dissect or laugh at in there. Mm-hmm. I could talk about how my career started, which is also based off of YouTube. So that might be a good place to start. Okay. I've also dealt with a lot of, mental health things and come out on the other side. So I could talk about that. There's agoraphobia, derealization, depersonalization disorder, anxiety, etc.
I wasn't able to track all of those, but I did write I wrote mental health - lots of disorders. You'll be happy to hear that that's the shorthand I took for our
great description.
Yep, for our outline.
Great description. And then the last one I'll throw out for now is that I went to a French Catholic high school as a closeted gay. So there's obviously a few thoughts and stories around that too.
Mm-hmm. Just typing closeted gay. I got it. Okay. why don't we I have to tell you, We very clearly have a whole lot to talk about. And I will also say, me studiously taking notes as you tell me very serious life things. I apologize if it feels dismissive, but it is making me giggle. Andrea also said the whole episode should just be me taking shorthand notes on your bullet points of your life. Andrea's feeling it. So
I'm down. Whatever you want. Where do you want to start?
Well, a logistical question I want to know is how old you are these days.
These days, I'm 29 for the next few days, so turning 30 soon.
So right on the verge of 30. So now, see, this is fascinating to me because you say you got YouTube famous in high school. Well, Andrea did tell me I should just put almost 30 on the list. Give me just a moment. Yeah, almost 30 is on the list. You got YouTube famous in high school, but that sounds like it was, you graduated about 12 years ago. Which tells me that you got YouTube famous between 12 and 15 years ago, which means A, you were in an early wave of when you that was YouTube was certainly established 15 years ago, but the idea of a high schooler becoming famous off of it was much more of a shiny novelty now, whereas now it's a thing people kind of strategize and set out and figure out how to do. And also, however that affects young people's growth, minds, stability, emotions, however you want to phrase it, you're probably one of the earliest people who can speak to it in the first person.
Yeah, it's interesting. It was definitely earlier days. Like, I remember when I first started posting videos, it was the star system. Like, you would rate a video out of 5 stars. And it was like obviously a whole different setup on the website, but it was early days for sure. And for the most part, I had a pretty positive association to it. So happy to dive into that because I feel like the internet gets a really bad rap in terms of the effect on people's health.
What was your area of focus as a famous high school YouTuber?
It was edited videos of horses.
Had a feeling that as an avowed vegan lesbian horse girl, it might be horse related. So videos of horses, that's what, so you were, is it fair to say did you catch a lot of momentum connecting with other horse girls, so to speak? Was that the core audience?
Yes. Yeah, the whole community was just a bunch of other horse girls. I don't really think there were any boys on there. I could be wrong, but thousands of horse girls across the whole world would bond over footage that they took at their barn of their own horses, of them riding their horses. And then it was basically a competition on, who rode best, who had the nicest horses, but mostly who edited the videos the best and got the most, reactions out of their content. And a beautiful community was built out of that.
Now, I have a friend who I have a lot of love for. And that's nice to say out loud. We haven't been as in touch lately, but she used to work on the Gethard show, and then she directed my special, Half My Life, named Kate Sweeney. Great director, makes lots of cool punk rock music videos. And she used to talk about herself as a horse girl. And like, she grew up a horse girl. She's still into horses, but was like, I was a horse girl. And talking to her, that was the first that I realized that the phrase horse girl is a thing. But I wouldn't be shocked if there's listeners out there going, I'm vaguely familiar that this is a thing, but I didn't realize there was such a passionate community around it. When we say horse girl, what does it mean? What's the difference between someone who's like, I think horses are cool and beautiful animals, and a horse girl?
It's a good question. I know that horse girl can be used as an insult. Like, some people kind of lean into the negative stereotypes of what horse girls could be. So, and there's also a variety. I would say horse girls can include girls who are just crazy about horses but don't actually really work with them, versus horse girls who are also equestrians who have that knowledge and interact and work with horses on a regular basis. So that's how I would separate it. Like, I embrace the term horse girl, but at the end of the day, I'm an equestrian more than anything else.
Good to know. Good to know. So there's maybe, are you indicating that there might be like a little bit of a horse girl divide as far as like the horse girls who are actually into equestrian, steeplechase, dressage, I imagine is something that might come up, versus like the lame poser horse girls that just honestly like horses? Like, is there a little bit of judgment in there?
I would say so. I mean, especially with, I don't have TikTok, but people on TikTok and Instagram creating a lot of content out of riding horses. If people are beginners and posting content constantly as equestrians when really they don't seem to know what they're talking about, there is some hate against them because of that. And people call them out for kind of being posers on the internet, trying to look like equestrians when people feel they're not actually equestrians enough.
And so this means you were someone who was out there riding horses.
Yeah. I've been doing it since I was in third grade, so it's been quite some time.
And you still get out there. Do you have a horse?
I don't have a horse. I've never had a horse. I've always either leased a horse or just ridden other people's horses or exercised horses for free. For free is just exercising everything else I've paid way too much money for, but no regrets.
Well, another thing I know from my friend Kate is there's also a culture of horse girls who grow up and then go and volunteer to work with horses at horse farms out of their love of horses. That's a common thing, yeah?
Mm-hmm. For sure, because it's just such... Go ahead.
No, please. It's such what?
Okay. It's just such a time-consuming and financially demanding sport that most people, as they, grow up, have to let go of it. So they'll try to hold on to it in whatever way they can, which includes volunteering. So right now, I do actually volunteer. Like I said, I ride horses for free, which is great. Because I just bought my first house. So financially, I'm feeling much more stuck, but I'm very blessed to still be doing it regularly as an adult. And I don't plan on letting it go.
Do you plan on owning horses someday? Would that be a shift you'd like to take?
I would absolutely love to take that shift. I definitely want to own a horse. I already have a dog and a cat, and now I have a house. So it just feels like a lot of expenses, and I have absolutely no idea how I would make that work financially, but I have not let go of the dream. The dream is still there, and I might need to pick up some side hustles to make it happen, but I do hope to one day.
Now, I also want to let you, something that I bet you know that a lot of people don't know. People think in New Jersey, they think industrial, they think dirty, trashy. Even a lot of people in Jersey will go, no, the Jersey Shore is beautiful, and the Pine Barrens, and up north, the hikes and the skylands are amazing. But even a lot of Jersey people don't know that New Jersey is quietly a very powerful hub of American horse culture. True or false? Are you aware of this?
I did not know. No, I'm not aware of this.
Oh,
I'm also not from the States. So
oh, you're not from the United States?
I might... No, I'm missing that info.
Are you Canadian?
I am Canadian, yes. So I have an accent. You seem surprised I'm not American.
No, I'll tell you, I'm not trying to sound insulting. You sounded maybe like a little serious to me, but I'm like, oh no, you're just Canadian.
That's funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have a very serious voice. I recently found out that I'm stoic and hard to read, which I had never realized before. This is a new discovery to me. So if I sound that way, I'm actually having a ton of fun. I just have a very monotone voice. Yes.
And in my mind, I go, oh, I thought like stoic, good word. I'm like, oh, this is a stoic American. Oh no, it's just an average Canadian. Got it. Great.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that's me.
Now, when you're a teenager, I imagine you don't set out and go, I'm going to corner the market on YouTube horse girl culture. What crosses over from you just throwing up videos where I imagine as a kid, you're like, oh, maybe my friends will watch this. And then, me and my friends can discuss horses. Maybe I'll meet some other horse people. When does the dam break? And when do you realize that you are, as you said, YouTube famous for this?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of friends, I was actually hoping that my friends wouldn't find it. This is like my secret online community where
Yes.
I had, friends from around the world, and it was just my escape from the real shackles of a French Catholic high school. So it was like a virtual reality for me. In terms of how I discovered it, I think this was in the area of like the early compilation videos of, the Olympic riders and things like that. So then people started to see that, and it was a lot of like stock images of horses, and it really grew into this bigger world where people said, okay, if we can do this with stock images and Olympic footage, we can do this with our own. And then I just tested it out, and it ended up working out. So by famous, I will say I had about 5,000 subscribers, but I think there was just a little bit over that in the community as a whole. I don't know the exact number. So I feel like I had a good chunk of the market, actively following my content, which was super wild.
Well, and you were also young. How old? 15, 16 when you started doing this?
Yeah, like around ninth grade or so. So whatever that age was. Actually, maybe.
So you're a ninth grader with a 5,000 person audience, and you're aware of like, oh, and that 5,000 person audience pretty much captures the entirety of this culture. There's about that many people in it.
Yeah.
That's wild. Now, as a kid, does that power go to your head? Does it intimidate you? Does it freak you out? How do you handle this?
I mean, it was definitely nerve-wracking. I always tried to make like such good content so that people would praise me. It was like it was a constant battle with myself to make really good videos. And in terms of getting to my head, like maybe a little bit, because at one point I tried to start a vlog channel, which was not actually a vlog channel. It was just me like trying to be terribly funny in front of the camera, and anyways, so did it get to my head? Yes, because I made a few videos on a vlog channel. But other than that, I would say that it just gave me like the confidence boost that I really needed at that time in my life. I don't think it made me cocky in any type of way. I was very much insecure at that age, so it was what I needed.
Were you able to monetize this, or had YouTube not become a platform that was paying out at that point?
I think you could monetize your content, but because I was using, copyrighted music, I could not make any money off of it, unfortunately.
Got it. So it was more just about this. You got the status in the world of horse girls. That's what you got from your very specific YouTube fame. Would you go to events and people start to figure out, oh, that's the person from that channel?
No, because most people were not in my area. It was a lot of people in the States or in the UK or in other parts of the world. But I did make a couple real life friends out of it. There were a couple people who live nearby, and I'm actually still friends with some of them. But it was really for the art more than anything for me, like being able to create that content. And it really kept me in the world of horses. I think I might have maybe given it up by now if I hadn't been in this community of people who were like such amazing writers and creators and so supportive. It kept me going. And then I kind of built my career off of that, strangely.
Let's transition into that. Because that was another thing on the list. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bold YouTube famous in high school. I feel like we have, at the very least, gotten that off the to-do list, so that might come up again. But how did it transition into your current career, which you've now mentioned a couple times?
Yeah, one last thing I wanted to mention about this community and how interesting it was when my lease horse passed away. There were 300 tribute videos made in her honor. When the word got around that the horse passed away, 300 people around the world made a tribute video to her, which is just,
I mean, touching and also baffling. I have to say, for me personally, if I was grieving, I want a little quiet time to myself. I don't know if I want to watch 300 tribute videos, but that being said, it is very nice. Anyway, we'll be right back. New school year is coming up, everybody, and my son's about to start kindergarten, and that's big. That's a big shift for a lot of us, right? You're out there, you're a parent, you've got kids, everybody's got different schedules, different places they have to be at different times, different after-school activities and sports and work obligations for the adults in our lives, and when our friends are going to come over, and you need a way to stay organized, and you need a way for that to be simple and clear-cut and honestly fun. The mental load of parenting is real, but this school year there's help. Enter Skylight Calendar. I have a Skylight calendar. I am looking at mine right now. It is helping me right now. It allows me to multitask in a way where I can record this for you. And it's also a clear-cut visual aid of what the rest of my entire day looks like. The Skylight calendar is super easy to set up and use. And I will tell you, I am technologically challenged, and it was easy and simple for me. It's right here in my office. I use it every single day. It basically sits on my desk, and it's a visual aid calendar that updates with my phone. So wherever I am in the world, as I add my appointments, it populates this thing throughout the day. It scrolls. There's a red bar that shows me what's coming up next, where I'm at in the day, and what we're approaching. It's so simple and easy to use. It comes in 2 sizes, 10-inch or 15-inch. The 15-inch can go up on the wall. It syncs from your existing calendar. So if you use Google, Apple, Outlook, some combination of them, you can also add events directly into it with the touch screen or with the Skylight mobile app. You link to all those calendars. They automatically appear on this one that you can keep in a central location in your home, so that everybody who's adding to it can keep track of everybody's schedules. You can get those events color-coded, helps you visually map out your family's plans for the entire week. And it's honestly nice, too, because you get all the colors on there and it's sitting in your room. It's not like one of these ones that's scrawled with your handwriting and then the dry erase is half crossed out, half not, and it looks messy. No, it keeps everything clean, streamlined, and visible. You can also, again, I mentioned, you get access to everything on the go with the mobile app that comes with it, that connects with it. And it's also kid approved. You can add emojis, make it fun for your kids. And on top of it, it's not just a calendar. You can do dinner planning, grocery lists, to-do lists, weather display, and the upcoming weather forecast. You can have all of these things run through something that, again, for me, it's on my desk. For a lot of you, you might put it on the kitchen counter or maybe up on the mantle, and you and the whole family can stay right on the same page about scheduling and take a deep breath and remove that constant traffic jam of information feeling from your life with the Skylight calendar. It's 100% satisfaction guaranteed. If you don't love it, you'll get a full refund. There's a 120-day money-back guarantee, free returns, and I use mine every single day, and I love it. As a special limited-time offer for our listeners, you'll get $40 off your purchase of a Skylight calendar when you go to skylightcal.com/stories. That's skylightcal.com/stories. So happy to once again tell you about Talkspace, who is the longest-term supporter of this show. For many years, Talkspace has had our back. For many years, I have been thankful and super impressed because we've been talking about Talkspace long enough now that it has proven true. They were so ahead of the curve on making therapy modern by using technology that already exists, that you already use, to make this process simpler, easier, less stigmatized, more accessible, more affordable. It's an awesome service. It can be really challenging to find a therapist, to meet with somebody who's the right fit. You can go ahead and use Talkspace, and you will be getting personalized treatment. You can meet online from anywhere. This can happen in your car during your commute. It can happen when you're on the train. It can happen from your own privacy. It happens on your schedule. You don't have to dedicate time to getting to therapy, getting back. I remember back in the day going to therapy, and sometimes I would hit traffic, or when I lived in New York, the subway would stall, and I'd sit here and be having an anxiety attack because I was late for therapy. And my therapist had to point out, if there's one thing you don't want to have an anxiety attack about, it's getting to therapy where we're trying to help you with your anxiety. Let's not do it. Let's also remember the affordability of this. Therapy can be very costly, but Talkspace is affordable and is also in-network with most major insurance providers. Talkspace is the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. Talkspace therapy and psychiatry are covered by most insurance plans and employers. Most insured members pay a copay of $30 or less, and it's also very easy. You sign up online, you get paired with a licensed provider that's the right fit for your needs. That usually happens within 48 hours, and you can switch providers if it doesn't feel like a good fit. That's at no extra cost. You can talk it out between sessions by sending messages to your therapist. That way, if you're having a bad stretch, you're having one of those anxiety attacks, you can get it written down on the record in the moment. You know that there's somebody on top of it who's going to have all that knowledge ready for your next session. It's a beautiful thing. And also, Talkspace provides personalized treatment for individuals, couples, LGBTQIA plus community members, veterans, teens, all sorts of ways to find people who have specialization in what you need. As a listener of this podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/beautiful. Enter the promo code SPACE80 to match with a licensed therapist today. Go to Talkspace.com/beautiful. Enter the promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for Beautiful Anonymous. That's Talkspace.com/beautiful, promo code SPACE80. Thanks again to our advertisers. Now let's get back to the phone call.
When the word got around that the horse passed away, 300 people around the world made a tribute video to her, which is just,
I mean, touching and also baffling as an outsider. What was the phrase you used? Your leaf horse?
Lease
like horse, the horse you
car,
lease.
But leasing a horse.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So that's how deep it went and how supported you felt. And I recently looked at my account again and I read through the comments, and the people were so kind. Like, they were saying things like, "This is amazing work. You're going to go far in life. I really believe in you." Like, what teenager doesn't need to hear that at that age? You know, it was just really beautiful. So I just wanted to mention those two last things.
Especially,
but in terms of my career,
I was going to say too, just to echo it, especially as you mentioned that you were like a closeted kid at a religious school. That's even more. That validation must go a long way as far as confidence.
For sure, indeed, made a big difference. So I started. The people at my barn in my city knew that I made these videos. So they started asking me to make videos for them, of them riding. So I started to do that. And then one of the riders came up to me and she said, "There's this government program that gives you a grant to start your business. You could buy a bunch of equipment and start a business by doing that." And at first I was like, that sounds like way too much. I don't actually know what I'm doing. And then I went ahead and I applied to the program and I got through. So I ended up getting a grant, bought all that equipment, created my own brand, had, branded polos and stands and whatnot. This was in university. So I started my own business doing that. And I made videos of equestrian events, also of weddings, branched off into weddings a little bit. So I started my own business in university. It was not the most successful thing in the world. It's really hard to make a lot of money when you first start a business, as you know. But it was really cool to transition into that after YouTube, and then my path has continued from there.
So you've always been a self-starter, and you still today are sort of running small businesses?
No, I tend to end up in positions where things are kind of still in the startup and they need to be built out. I work in communications now, so it's a lot of translating information to people and getting them to click through and getting them on board. So it's not a small business. It's like pretty larger programs that I work for right now. But I feel like I always have that entrepreneurial small business mindset going into my jobs, and I'm just very extra because I like to put too much effort into job interviews and things like that. One time I printed out a binder in a formal interview, and I brought it to the interview panel, and it was blue, and it said, "What horses have taught me." And on the inside were a bunch of lessons of what horses have taught me and how they relate to work. And there was some tough competition for that job. Just because I was extra, I got it. So
You did.
it just taught me.
And I need to be honest with you, and you know this going into it, I bet, is that's the type of big swing where you're like, this is either going to show some innovative thinking and some focus and some self-awareness that gets me this job, or the reason I don't get this job is because they think I'm too obsessed with horses. That's one or the other, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I just like to show my true self, as stoic as I can be, but just be extra and trust that, you know, they get a window into how hard I try and how much heart I put into things. And if it's too much for them, it's not a fit, that's fine. We both know, and we can move on.
Do you feel like you connect more with horses or human beings?
I think horses have helped me connect with human beings better.
That is the best answer a person could give when they want to admit that they connect more with horses than human beings, but also don't want to deal with the headache of saying that out loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, horses you don't have to use the same type of language with them. You don't have to worry about eye contact, or you do have to worry about your posture with them because they do read your body language. But it's just, once you learn the rules, it's much less complicated from there for the most part.
Now, you said you've recently become aware that you're viewed as stoic. I told you that I did get the sense that you were a little serious on the phone. Am I wrong in guessing that your playful side or your softer sides come out easier with horses than with people?
Yeah, maybe. I do think I take things seriously, though, even with horses. I probably should be more playful with them. Yeah, I think I'm like this all the time, unfortunately, Chris.
No, unfortunate. Fortunate. It's a happy thing, and it's great to talk to you. So, I want to go ahead and ask you, so French Catholic, that makes me think probably in Quebec, based on where you grew up?
No, not in Quebec, a different part of the world.
Wow.
Of Canada. I mean, my parents, they're both bilingual, and they always said if we're in an English province, they'll go to French school and vice versa. So we were in English province and in French school.
Oh, got it. I know. So growing up where I grew up, and this is a funny discussion, and just to kind of lay it out, I've talked a lot on the show about Catholicism because I grew up in it, and it had a major effect on me. I don't really practice anymore. People who have listened for a while, I think, are well aware of that. But I know a lot about Irish Catholicism and what that looks like, and Italian Catholicism, because there's tons of crossover there. In the Northeast of America, there's a lot of Polish Catholics, and it's a very interesting religion in the sense that it does take on the flavor of the immigrant groups that brought it to the areas where it lands. There are some, nothing official, but customs, you might say, ways to let your guard down. And then even in the States now, a lot of Catholics are Hispanic, Filipino, waves of Brazilian immigrants bring Catholicism with them. But French Catholicism doesn't have nearly the foothold in the States as it does in Canada, I would imagine. And I'm wondering, what flavor does that take on? Is it ridden with as much guilt and secrecy as the other types that I know?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my experience is like very specific. My school had like 300 students in it from grade 7 and grade 12. So our experience was very much curated to that small group. So I definitely don't speak for all French Catholics, but at my school specifically, we did do mass on a monthly basis. We did do confession on a regular basis. We did pray fairly regularly. For a while, my parents did make me go to church on Sundays until I locked myself in my room by just pressing against the door and told them I wasn't doing it anymore. But in terms of what was it you mentioned? Secrecy, shame,
guilt. Yeah, I didn't even say shame. You said shame. You got to shame. I said guilt. But hey, we're on the same page.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at my school specifically, bringing the gay thing into this, it was, no one was out. People were rumored to be gay, but nobody would admit it. There would be songs about the kids who were assumed to be gay. Even the teachers would bully the children that they assumed to be gay. And we did have a couple gay teachers at the school who never once admitted that they were gay, that I now, as an adult, can confirm that they were, but it was a complete secret while they were at the school. They weren't allowed to speak about it.
Wow, that sounds really lonely and really hard. I'm sad that you dealt with that.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I did get through it. I had a what we called a fake girlfriend with one of my best friends, and turns out we're both lesbians now. So I guess our love wasn't that fake after all. But you know, people got through it. It was a part of life back then. Being gay was just not as accepted. And now I recently stumbled upon the Facebook page for that high school, and they now have pride events. So I'm very happy to see that things have improved, and, you know, people are more accepted now. So that's nice. It creates a bit of sadness that we couldn't have that experience, but it's just part of life back then, and we've come a long way. So that's good.
Absolutely. And it's so odd to think that you're talking about a decade ago, slightly more than a decade ago. And to hear that your high school has pride events, when back then you came to find out that there were not just kids, but teachers hiding who they were because of fear. And you go, man, things are not perfect. They are far from perfect. There are groups facing shaming and violence and closed-mindedness today. I'm not pretending there aren't. But you do take a step back and go, the level of progress in a pretty quick period of time, it feels like in some ways it feels almost like a fever broke surrounding this conversation. And and I'm not trying to pretend everything's cozy and perfect. And even right now today, as you and I speak, there's like swirling internet controversy because people think that an Olympic boxer is secretly trans. And you sit here and you go, oh, well, it's not over. I'm not saying it's over by any means. And I'm not saying people are in the clear and safe and need to, and that the credits are rolling on this movie. But it does feel, to hear you be able to say, oh, my high school experience was one thing, but in the same exact building right now, kids are having a drastically different experience. I feel like I can just let out a deep breath and go, thank God. Thank the Catholic God that we feared when we were young and odd.
Yep. Amen to that.
Amen to the Catholic God who made us all hide aspects of ourselves our whole lives.
We made it out. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think there's always going to be some level of hate towards people who are in gay relationships, but the narrative has definitely shifted more to trans people. And that seems to be the bigger issue that everybody feels they deserve a say on right now, which is unfortunate because for many reasons, but trans people already have enough to deal about. They don't need all that on top of it.
Let's let people live. Can we please just let people live? How old were you when you came out?
I was 20-ish. Yeah, in university. I tried dating men for a little bit. And then when dating apps came out, I tried the dating apps for men, and I was cringing at every single profile. And then I was like, let's try something else. And I switched it over to women's, and all of a sudden I was extremely intrigued into everyone's profiles. And as soon as I went on a date with a woman, I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I was missing. This is way more exciting.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question that's somewhat facetious, but I'm genuinely interested in the answer. As a lesbian who did try to date men and hit up the dating apps, you said men's profiles were all cringy. As a lesbian, what was the worst aspect of trying to date men?
I mean, okay, this was like Plenty of Fish era, so nobody knew how to make a good profile. Nobody really had good photos, but the photos and the descriptions, just the lack of effort into the descriptions of their personal descriptions on their profiles and the photos, just the whole thing, Chris. It's hard to pick one.
Just a real lack of effort, or just a general malaise surrounding the experience.
Yeah. The lack of effort for sure was up there.
And then you click over, you say, there's this piece of me. I know it's down there deep down. I'm going to click the button to check out women, and your receptors immediately, whatever's going on in your brain, like all the things that were underwhelmed by men, all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's a real effort here. Would you say that lesbians put in more effort on their dating profiles in your experience when you were dating?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's so much effort put into profiles. It's like I've dated women for a long time now, and I'm not on the market anymore, but definitely so much effort put into the photos, into the descriptions, especially the new apps nowadays where you can have like several descriptions between your photos. People try really hard. People do photo shoots for their dating profiles. People are constantly editing their profiles. It's a whole complicated thing for sure.
As someone who from a very young age started curating and packaging content, were you able to see the curation fingerprints over people's profiles in the same way that you once obsessed over making perfect horse-themed videos?
Totally. I think making a profile for me was so much more easier because I'm used to like packaging information and images together. So it was just like another assignment for me.
Do you feel like you would be able to go on dates with people who had these very clear high effort profiles, and then the part of you that grew up as someone learning how to build a brand and package things would sit here and go, oh, okay, you're very good at branding, but your profile is not true to what I'm now sitting across from in this bar?
Oh, for sure. I've met two women I can think of specifically that seemed interesting and promising in their profiles. And then I met them and they were the dullest people I've ever met. So people can definitely sound good virtually, and then you meet them and they have absolutely no charisma or no passions in their lives. I've also been like heavily catfished by one woman before. So
Really?
That was an interesting experience as well. Oh yeah.
How did that go?
I mean, her photos, this is Plenty of Fish. Her photos were of her, but they were heavily edited to the point where her teeth were edited, her weight was edited, her skin was edited, like everything about her was edited. And even before I met her, again, as an editor, I looked at her photos and I was like, that doesn't seem real. And I actually said it to her before we met. I said, I have a feeling you're a catfish. Are these photos real? And she was like, absolutely. And then we met in person and she joked about it. She's like, remember when you thought I was a catfish? And I looked at her and I didn't say it, but mentally I'm like, girl, you are a catfish. The fact that you're joking about being a catfish right now is mind-boggling to me because I know those photos are not accurate.
Is there ever a situation where you've gone, I have no interest in dating this person, but I might hire them because their Photoshop skills are incredible based on how deceptive that profile was?
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing about lesbians. It's very easy to be friends with people you meet online too. So you don't always have to swipe right because you want to be with them romantically. You can swipe right to leverage their skills or or befriend them instead.
Man, you've lived a lot of life. Now, I want to make sure we're paying attention to our to-do list. I think lesbian horse girl, we've definitely got to. When did you stop eating eggs and cheese? When did you go vegan? Because you specifically said vegan lesbian
eggs and
horse
cheese
girl.
was after. Yeah. Eggs and cheese were after meat, so I stopped eating meat in high school. I never enjoyed eating meat. I was always the kid whose parents had to force them to eat the meat instead of the vegetables. I've always loved vegetables. And then that horse I was talking about earlier suddenly passed away. And I was extremely, extremely distraught about that. And that evening, my parents gave me a beef burger to eat for dinner. And I was so distraught over this horse. And then I'm looking at this burger made out of a cow. And I'm like, they're such similar animals. Why am I heavily mourning the death of one and then chowing down its cousin for dinner? It made no sense to me. So then I looked up a documentary. It's a ridiculous title, but it's called If Slaughterhouses Had Glass Walls, Everybody Would Be a Vegetarian. Watch that and thought to myself that I would like slowly stop eating meat, but I never ate meat again after that day.
Truly a vegan lesbian horse girl. You weren't lying. You were not lying.
Yeah. So it's been since 2010 that I stopped eating meat, and I think 2015 that I let go of the eggs and dairy. Just when I found out about, the complications of the dairy industry, and how it's not quite what is advertised to us. And I also read a piece of research that you can actually absorb protein more easily if you're not consuming a certain thing that you find in cow's milk. I probably shouldn't mention that because I don't have the stats on me right now, but the combination of all those things and just how accessible vegan options are nowadays, having gone vegetarian so long ago, there used to be no offerings, and now it's just feels like the world is my oyster.
Yes, although not your oyster, because oysters are, of course, not vegan. Boom, I nailed it. That was shitty of me. That was not a great joke. And it interrupted our caller's rhythm. So I could make a veganism joke. Anyway, I'll be kicking myself. In the meantime, enjoy these ads. So happy to talk once again about Delete Me. I have heard from a number of people who have heard me talking about it on the show and have said it's something that they're looking for, and they wanted to follow up and make sure that I was being serious about my experience with it, and I am. Delete Me stepped up to the plate and helped me in a really big personal way, and it showed me that I can shout to the hilltops about the service they're providing. It is great. Maybe you have been the victim of identity theft, or you've seen that happen to someone else in your life and you don't want to happen to you. Maybe you've been harassed online. Maybe you've been scammed on the phone. Maybe you get tons of robocalls. Privacy matters. These are the types of things that start to happen to you when your privacy leaks. Now, there's a lot of personal information about everyone on the internet. It is nuts when you start looking into it. We are easy targets, but you can protect yourself, get peace of mind with Delete Me. You don't want your personal data out there because if there's more than you think, your name, your contact info, phone number, there's people out here trying to sell your social security number on these weird data broker sites, your home address. When I looked into some of the sites out there, it was like my address, every address I ever lived at, every address my parents ever lived at, where my brother lived. It was nuts. And long story short, I can't get into the specifics. I had a situation a few years ago where I was starting to really feel like there was someone crossing lines, and I had reason to be nervous about all that personal info out there. I went and signed up for some services that told me they would erase my information from everywhere on the internet. Thought they were doing a good job. Then I signed up with Delete Me, and they have found multiple places that were missed by the other services. And I can tell you, that is not in the ad copy they gave me. It's my personal experience. I don't want my info out there. That's like giving someone a key to your front door. You want your door locked, use delete me. You don't want to find out there's some nightmare with your bank account or your credit cards. You start getting overdue notices for things you never signed up for. Don't deal with it. Get that info out of the hands of these data brokers. Use delete me. I know that I exist publicly. I have been hyper aware of safety and security, especially since my son was born. And I feel so much safer knowing that delete me is out there, removing my info from the world. And not just removing it. Guess what? They send you regular privacy reports showing what info they found, showing where they found it, and what they removed. And the fact that it's not a one-time service, I am so impressed. They found a whole bunch of places that it was still floating around out there for me. And then they recently sent me one of my privacy reports. Some of those sites tried to re-add my information. They found it again. Shut it down. Go out there. You sign up for Delete Me. You tell them exactly what information you want deleted. Their experts get to work. Delete Me does that hard work. They wipe you and your family's personal info off the web, and data brokers hate Delete Me for a reason. Sign up. They will get to work immediately scrubbing your info off of those platforms. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Use the promo code beautiful at checkout. The only way you're going to get that 20% off, go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Enter code beautiful at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/beautiful. The code is beautiful. Thanks again to all of our advertisers. Now let's finish the phone call.
Feels like the world is my oyster.
Yes, although not your oyster,
And
because oysters are, of course, not vegan.
Oh, you caught me. You caught me. I do also want to clarify that, like, I do believe in hunting and fishing, especially indigenous practices of doing so. It's really just the industry and the factory farms that I disagree with. And so, yeah, I want to defend eating animals in general. It's just the way that we go about it that I feel I would rather not support.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Sorry that I had
You're
an oyster
vegetarian
joke.
too, right?
An oyster joke, as you then followed up with a beautiful statement about the hideous nature of commercial animal production. I was going to say you might want to say the
No,
world
it's
is my
great. It's
oyster mushroom, because that fits.
Oh, thank you. You just changed my life. I will be using that from now on.
I am vegetarian, although I've been thinking about maybe eating fish again. My doctor, I had high triglycerides at my last physical. My doctor said to me, look, being a vegetarian is great, but you also travel an endless amount. And there's a lot of times where that means French fries, that means pizza. You don't know where the vegetarian food is in cities. You know, you get to American cities of a certain size, and not only is it hard to find vegetarian food, they're a little bit meat obsessed at times. She was like, is it really healthier to eat pizza multiple times a week instead of like a piece of fish once in a while? So I'm thinking about it, but I think it would be sad. I actually, yesterday when I was on that 8-hour-long drive home, I stopped to eat and I almost got a piece of catfish. And then I said, nah, today's not the day. I don't think I'm going to start eating fish again in a restaurant on the side of a highway when I'm on this frustrating travel day. But yes, I am a vegetarian, but I'm...
Might as well make it good if you are going to finally eat fish again, you know?
Maybe not at a Cracker Barrel on a highway in Pennsylvania. Maybe that's not the place to go back. Although, who am I to talk ill of Cracker Barrel? I go there very often on the road. Now, your mental health, like I said, I was able to list lots of disorders on our outline that we built at the beginning of the call. I did get agoraphobic down. Could you maybe slowly list the rest of them so I can ask the appropriate questions and get the appropriate knowledge?
Yeah. The other ones were, to me, these two kind of intertwine. I don't know which one exactly it is, if not both. One of them is called derealization disorder, and the other one is called depersonalization disorder.
Okay.
And then, overall anxiety, because that's just a regular thing, I think.
I mean, I think that's me, you, and a lot of other people these days, and I get it. Agoraphobic, the broad strokes of that, the cliche at least that I know, is someone who generally does not like leaving the house or being amongst crowds. Would you say that's correct, or is that more of the buzz? Is that more of like the buzzy cliche definition?
No, I think that's a correct way to simply describe it. And I have gotten over my agoraphobia now. There are times where I'm like going to a concert or something and I'm like, this is not my thing, but I'm going to do it because I love the artist. But when I was in high school, it was at its peak and I didn't know what agoraphobia was yet at that point. I just knew that I was like completely horrified about having to be in like a tight room with a bunch of people and fluorescent lighting and not being able to escape. And our classrooms also didn't have windows, so you really felt pretty stuck in there. I also avoided for some time like movie theaters or malls, or I would go to them but feel this like insane amount of anxiety in my body and not be able to completely describe why until I finally met a therapist who had that definition for me.
Now, derealization and depersonalization, I can't claim to know what the implications of those phrases are.
Yeah, so this would occur to me in moments where I was like already nervous about something, and everybody has a slightly different reaction to it. So a lot of people feel out of body in the way that they are like, they're somehow kind of having a bird's eye vision of their body and their environment. And they don't feel like they're inside their body. For me, when I feel out of body, I do have my vision as I stand, but I just feel kind of numb and tingly and detached from my body itself. And if I look in the mirror, I look a little bit like when I'm having these panic attacks, I look like a stranger, and I have to like remind myself who I am and who the people around me are and that I can trust them. And it's just kind of a separation from reality within your own body. And it's a very scary place if you don't know what it is.
Now, I will tell you, as you started saying, like the numbness, the tingling, the feeling a little bit of like the bird's eye view of yourself, I almost jumped in and said, oh, those are the things I've associated with panic attacks. I've had those feelings you described when I've had really bad panic attacks in the past. And then you said panic attacks. So I think I maybe identify with that one slightly more than I realized. At the very least, as you started speaking it, I was thinking to myself, oh, this sounds like my panic attacks.
Yeah, it's really not spoken about a lot at all. And that's part of why I wanted to speak about it, because you don't hear people talking about it. You don't really know the definition. And like, you're someone who knows about mental health, and you don't know much about this condition, right? So I wanted to spread the word a little bit. A lot of people, like you said, they feel these feelings and they just think, oh, it's overall anxiety or it's a panic attack. But once you know the definition of it and you can look into it and read about it, it's super helpful in getting you through it. I had really, really intense bits of it through my life. And now when it hits me, I just kind of like virtually, like in my head, wave at it and name it and say it's going to be okay, and then it passes within seconds, whereas in the past it would stay with me for hours sometimes.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. It's going to sound mean, but it's not. It's actually hopeful, because you mentioned that you're not on the dating market anymore. You dropped before that you're partnered up these days. Yeah And I'm saying this, I know that this question is funny, but I genuinely want the answer. When you're out here on these dating apps and you're going, hey ladies, so I am a vegan horse girl who does not like leaving the house. Sometimes my anxiety hits a point where I feel like I'm not living in my own body anymore. That's not... That's an uphill pitch for a lot of people in the dating world, but you have a partner. You pulled it off. I want you to tell us how you did that to give hope to others. Because a lot of people stop at vegan. We know a lot of people swipe left when they see vegan. When they see horse girl on top of it,
I know.
Horse girl, or vegan.
I know.
Both of those, there's a lot of left swipes. And then on top of it, I don't like leaving the house and doing things. And also sometimes my body is here, but I'm not here. How'd you nail somebody down? Because a lot of people, those are swipe leftable moments.
Yeah, I know. It's not really the catch that people are looking for. That was hilarious. Love being roasted like that.
I know I am roasting you, but
know.
genuinely, I'm like, God, I'm like sitting there, I'm like, man, and you're holding it down.
I know. It's crazy. If I look back on myself as a teenager and like who I am now, it feels not different, because I still am who I am and I still live with those things, but I'm just like extremely proud of what I've been able to accomplish considering how crippling this all used to be for me. But in terms of dating, I would say you got to pace yourself in terms of just how much you share at once. I'm not great at pacing myself. I'm pretty good at sharing information right off the bat. So not lying to anyone about where you're at, but just staying true to yourself and bringing you to the table and being honest. I don't know. This is a very cheesy answer. I don't know how it worked. It just did. It helps that it's a pretty small pool of lesbians where I live. So, it's slim pickings. But I made it. I found some.
I do like your stunning admission of like, there's not too many lesbians where I am. So like they'll put up with my dietary restrictions maybe a little longer than some more populated areas.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It helps that my current partner didn't eat that much meat to start with. She loves eggs, so she still eats eggs, but she's always hated cheese. Which is wild. Cheese and chocolate, doesn't like those. Don't ask me why. I love both of those things. So having a partner who doesn't like cheese is like the biggest win for a vegan, because cheese is the hardest to let go of.
Wow. That's a real modern love story right there.
Yeah, it worked out.
I don't want to reach for it. Totally valid if you're like, there's no connection here. I am left here wondering, anxiety, agoraphobia, fear of being around people, and also a teenage experience where you felt a real need to deny who you were or hide who you were. Those things can't help each other. I wonder if there's any thought of if they, if any of that experience is at the roots of some of the anxiety, or if that's just a big reach on my end.
No, I definitely think it's all interconnected, and even the work that I do with horses, one of the things that I like about horses is that if you're anxious, they mirror it back to you. So you really can't hide anxiety from horses. You have to be extremely solid when you're around them, because they're flight animals. So they'll find reasons to want to be afraid of something. So you have to, learn how to breathe, learn how to stand, learn to really feel what type of energy you're giving to the people and the animals around you. So I think that the work with horses along with therapy has really helped on the anxiety front, but it's all definitely very intertwined.
I mean, there is horse therapy. There are therapists who connect people with horses because of their calming effects. Like this is a real thing that people get, people apply their degrees towards. Do you feel like being open, being honest, being aware of the anxiety, the agoraphobia, the depersonalization, are they things that you've learned to live with? Are they things you've learned to reduce? Are they things you've learned to manage? How would you describe your current relationship with these aspects of yourself? I
think it's ever changing. I think that COVID was obviously terrible and caused a ton of harm. But I do think I was going to burn out at the pace that I was going. Before COVID hit, I worked in running events and building relationships. So it was a lot of go, go, go. And I didn't really have space to pace myself or check myself or work on myself as much as I needed to. So since COVID, I got a new job and I now work from home, which is wonderful for the agoraphobia and the anxiety and, being easily overwhelmed. But then I get comfortable being at home, and going back into the office for certain events or meetings does feel more overwhelming because I'm not as used to it. So working from home and having agoraphobia is like a fine balance where I have to continue to try to push myself to do things. I recently attended a concert that I didn't really want to attend. I'm the kind of person who, if I'm going to put myself in the way that I look at it is, if I'm going to do something that scares me, I need to really want to do it. And I think I need to get over that a little bit and just follow my partner along to places that don't interest me as much and not try to stay home just because they seem overwhelming to me. I don't even remember what your question was.
Neither, although I am struck in your response, but hearing that you work from home now, I'm like, yeah, that, and hearing that you go, yeah, but there's that fine line of it fits you a lot more, your comfort level. You have to make sure it doesn't sort of like validate or expand the agoraphobia, and you have to be on top of it. I mean, said being an agoraphobic event planner, that sounds hellish. That sounds bad.
I know, but I did like it. It really just starting my business, pushed me to have to be more of a people person. Also adopting a dog, like people always want to talk to you when you have a dog. So that also helps, but it's just the way that have something to add there?
No, I was laughing. Very often it sounds like you go, I learned more about people specifically because of animals. Horses and dogs, I guess, also will bring people into my life, but horses and dogs, wow.
Absolutely. I truly, literally don't know who I would be if I hadn't built my life around horses. Like, genuinely have no idea. I would probably still be a very intensely agoraphobic person, I believe. Hopefully not, but it has helped so much.
The Olympics are happening now. Do you watch all the horse-related events?
I haven't watched any of those. I used to do what is called eventing. Have you ever heard of eventing?
I have not.
Okay, so eventing is a mixture of 3 equestrian sports. The first one is dressage that you mentioned earlier, so you get points for that.
Were you psyched I knew about dressage?
And then there's
you got to admit, not many people know about dressage.
I was very impressed.
Bruce Springsteen's daughter went to the Olympics as part of the U.S. dressage event 4 years ago. She did not make the team this year, but it's a Jersey person. We all keep our eyes.
Is that why you know?
Yes, because Jessica Springsteen was an Olympian in the event of dressage. That's legitimately why I know it exists. So dressage is one of your events. I don't know what it is. I just know it exists. I have no idea what it is. That being said, what are the other events you participated in?
Yeah. Show jumping. And then there's cross-country jumping. So show jumping is what you mostly probably picture at the Olympics. People are jumping a course with jumping over poles with horses. So that's the second part. And then the last part is called cross-country jumping, which is when you're in a massive field and you have solid obstacles. So like they can be massive benches. Sometimes people jump over cars. It's like solid obstacles, usually made out of wood. That you're supposed to jump over at high speeds.
And you've done
and that's the most dangerous one by far. I've done these. Yeah.
You've jumped a car. You've jumped a horse over a car?
Not a car, but a bench and other obstacles.
Are those events more about the horse or the person? Oh, I want to hear about it. Believe me. Are these events, are they more about the horse, the person, or the synthesis of the horse in person?
Definitely the work between the two. I mean, it's super, the horses that you see in these high level competitions are treated like incredibly well for the most part. You have to be like, they treat them like elite athletes, which they are. And I don't know. It's obviously you have to be slightly insane to do all of this. So definitely about the riders, and then the horses are just in for the show, and a lot of them are bred specifically to do this, so they have the skills within them.
And what
already.
You mentioned a couple injuries. What's the craziest injury you've had that is horse related?
I was in a cross country field, and I was jumping this horse that hadn't done that much cross country before, and we were coming up to a bench, and she stopped right in front of the bench when we came into it at a, like a canter or a gallop. And she stopped in her tracks. So I was going to turn her around and try again, but she jumped it from a standstill. So I got catapulted out of the saddle, landed on the other side of the jump before she did. And I'm on my back looking up at the sky, and I see the horse in the air about to land on me. And my coach, who was like very serious and never afraid at the time, I hear him just like scream, like a blood curdling scream watching it happen. And the horse happened to, thank God, once again, just ripped the skin off of my rib cage, just gave me like a really, really bad carpet burn along my side. And obviously had she landed like slightly further into my body, it would have been much more serious, but that was the scarier one.
What's the connection between horse and rider? Like, is the horse sorry at that point, or does the horse just move on with its day? Does the horse know that it did something that almost killed you there?
I mean, I think she must have avoided me somehow. So they definitely don't like want to step on you, but I think she just went out about her day after that. I don't think she really cared that much.
Yeah.
It depends. Like I did not have a very strong relationship with that horse, but if it was a horse that I had a bigger connection with, it probably would have made a bigger impact on both of us,
Yeah.
But they don't care as much.
Mm-hmm. What is dressage? Mm-hmm. I finally am with someone who can tell me, what is dressage?
Oh gosh.
We have 1 minute.
It's dressage. Pardon?
We have 45 seconds.
Okay, 45 seconds. Short description is dressage in general is just the word for training a horse. But basically you want to do specific movements with it in a pattern, and you're controlling everything just from your body and your breathing, and you do different patterns and movements and expressions in the saddle with the horse.
Why is Bruce Springsteen's daughter so good at dressage?
She's got money, probably.
Yeah, I bet that helps. A lot of rich people in the horse world, right?
Yeah, indeed. Never enough money for this sport.
Our time on the free feed is
I love that we talked so much.
Oh, I'm glad.
All right.
Listen, I'm going to be honest. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody. I think you're our first horse girl. I'm shocked. Based on the demographics of the listener base of this show, shocked that it took 8 years to have a horse girl. Shocked, genuinely.
Oh my gosh.
I am positive that we will see a lot of feedback from people going, I was hoping to be the first horse girl I've been trying to call for years. I'm positive they're on their way. If we don't have an undercurrent of horse girls listening to Beautiful Anonymous, then frankly, I'm not doing my job right, because horse girls are kind of the types of people I should be connecting with as a guy who doesn't particularly connect with horses. And I think that makes sense if you know me.
I hear you completely. I hope the horse girls speak up.
Now, our time on the free feed has ended, but I just have to let everybody know, I'm not going to twist your arm. The bonus content is great. We're about to say goodbye to the free feed. For everybody on the bonus content, keep listening, because you're going to get a bunch more minutes to learn more about our caller today, who's already taken us in so many surprising directions. Caller, do you want to say goodbye to all the freeloaders?
Goodbye, freeloaders.
Caller, thank you so much. Sincerely, it was so fun to talk to you, to hear all those different aspects of your life, to be able to laugh about things while also putting out there some serious stuff. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you to our producer, the High Priestess, Andrea Quinn. Thank you to Shellshag for our theme music. If you want to know more about me, including all the touring dates that I've got up, go to punchup.live/Chris Gethard. That's where you can find out about those. You can leave us a voicemail at 973-306-4676. Follow us on Instagram at Beautiful Anonymous Pod. We are, of course, on Facebook at Beautiful Anonymous, the community. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. Question number 9. This is a sweet one. How would you describe your best friend?
Best friend. Other than my dog.
I was just going to say, I know your best friend is not a human. I know your best friend is not human.
I'll pick a human. She is a lot like me, actually. We used to work for the same company. We never befriended each other there. And then we both actually moved to a different company, same company. We didn't befriend each other there. And then she started riding horses again in her adulthood, and we reconnected from there. So I love having someone other than you that I can talk to horses about. She's also very kind of blunt and honest. She's also very goofy, and she's also very smart. So I love having someone like that in my life.
Now, I did notice, I think you meant to say, I like having someone I can talk about horses with, and you said I can talk to horses about, almost indicating that you like talking to horses with this person as an ancillary piece of it.
That is a perfect mistake.
Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.
O'Reilly! Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE-certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.